Okay, so I have noticed that, well, ever since Battlefield 3 I really noticed this, but in Battlefield 4 it's actually bothered me enough to do a YouTube video on it. So, most people when they use the headsets in Battlefield call things out like crazy maniacs, and there's no rhyme or reason to it. So I thought, hey, let's go over the phonetic NATO alphabet and a few other things so that you can properly speak Battlefield. So, objectives are no longer A, B, C, D, or E. They are now going to be called Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, Delta, Echo, Foxtrot, Golf, Hotel, India, Papa, Quebec, Romeo, Sierra, Tango, Uniform, Victor, Whiskey, X-Ray, Yankee, and Zulu. So, no more calling things B, C, D, or E over the headset. The reason for that is that those letters all sound incredibly similar, and if you have a staticky headset, or there's explosions or gunfire going off, it's really hard to tell the difference between B, C, D, or E when you're playing Conquest, or anything with an objective in Battlefield. So, call it Bravo, call it Charlie, call it Delta. It will seriously, seriously help your team out. Now, as far as saying yes or no to something, while you could say yes or no, it would technically be more correct to say affirmative or negative. And you could also use that without the headset if you hold down the button that gives you those prompts, but honestly, affirmative and negative is fine. You could also say yes or no, but, you know, that's up to you on that one. That one I'm flexible on. Now, something to get familiar with is the concept of tango. Now, what tango means is target. So the target can be really anything. A target will sometimes be a tank. A target will sometimes be an objective or a base. It just depends on what you guys define the tango is in that moment. Once you define what the tango is, once you've killed the tango or accomplished that goal, you would say tango down. As far as calling out vehicles, a tank is a tank, an LAV is an LAV, and mobile anti-air is mobile anti-air. However, you could call any of these things enemy armor. So if you're not 100% certain that it is a tank, because say you can't see it but you can hear it, it would be kind of incorrect to say it's a tank, because you don't really know it's a tank if you don't have eyes on. So it would be better to say, hey, there's enemy armor over there, because you know, you're not being specific and you're not necessarily sending people to their death thinking it's something easy when really it's actually a tank. So, as far as the jets are concerned, a jet is a jet, although it could be called a fast mover because it's the fastest moving thing on the battlefield, but that's slightly confusing to people. But, you know, a jet's a jet, chopper's a chopper. If you're not quite certain what kind of chopper it is, then don't specify, just call it enemy air, and people will know what they're dealing with or have, you know, kind of like a loose guideline on that. As far as what I deem the most important aspect in Battlefield is the idea of declaring something certainly. Anytime you declare something in Battlefield as certainly 100% or truth or definitive or, you know, absolutely certain, that would be incorrect. So, as an example, if you spawn into Battlefield and you see two people walk into a house, it would be wrong for you to say, hey guys, there's two people in that house. And the reason for that is because you are not 100% certain there are two people in that house. All you actually saw was two people go into the house. So what you should say is, hey guys, I just saw two people go into that house. That way, when you guys go in to clear the house, it's not as though you're expecting two people, you are expecting at least two people. And a lot of people get sent to their death in Battlefield over this concept. For real. Because they'll see something and they'll just say it like, hey, it's this one thing and only this one thing. And then people rush in like it's only that one thing, and it ends up being 3 things or 4 things, and people get straight killed. So to be quite honest, I would say never say there are or there is. I would tell you, just say that I see or I saw. Or the eyes on. So it would be okay to say, hey, eyes on, 2 guys in that room. You're not saying that there's 2 guys in that room, but you're saying, hey, I see 2 guys in that room. That way, if anyone goes into the room, they're going to be prepared for at least 2 guys, and not only 2 guys, which is really a huge difference in Battlefield. And anytime that information is given that prepares people properly, like that is the difference in milliseconds that will get people and your team to victory. Because in gunfights, milliseconds count. So giving people you know, a bad call or phrasing something incorrectly will really give people a shock. You know, you tell someone that, hey, there's a guy in that room, and they run into the room, there's 5 guys, they're gonna be shocked, because they're not expecting 5 guys, they're expecting 1, and maybe he was trying to knife, you know, and you might not even have a good plan, because you were not prepared for what it actually was. So rather than send people to their death on what really is a guess in the moment, just tell people what you know you saw, or what you actually saw or can see. Don't tell them... Don't just declare it as truth. You know, one guy is often more than one guy. Or even if you just saw one guy go in the house, a bunch of guys could spawn off him. So even if it was correct to say there's one guy in the house, you really still shouldn't, because dudes might spawn on him, you really want to say, hey, I saw one guy go in that house. And that really prepares people properly for the, you know, fight ahead. In closing, if your commander asks you, hey, can you take Delta? You could say affirmative or negative, and if you wanted to be really fancy about it and be all proper, you would tell your commander, say your commander was like, hey, can you take Delta, and you actually wanted to take Delta and you were going to, you could say, Oscar Mike, ETA 60 seconds. Now, Oscar Mike means on the move, ETA stands for estimated time of arrival, and the 60 seconds means I'll be there in 60 seconds. So, hopefully this was helpful, and I will see you on the battlefield.